Today on the Principal's Office.
Kentucky lawmakers have set a deadline for schools to reopen, which requires in-person classes resume by March 29th. JCPS officials say their current reopening plan complies with that new law. It has elementary students returning in person on a hybrid schedule the third week of March, and then middle and high school will be returning April 5th after spring break.
The news 1 year ago came as a shock, but at the time, the shutdown appeared to be temporary.
How long did you expect this to last?
Oh, certainly not this long.
Many parents worried about the need for new technology and the educational impact on their children.
I get phone calls all the time of parents literally in tears who are saying, I don't know what to do because I'm not a teacher.
There are certain individuals that through any crisis are going to come out of it relatively unscathed, while others, again, are just not going to be able to recoup.
Resources make a big difference in keeping learning loss as low as possible. In a recent survey, teachers from schools in high-poverty areas viewed virtual classes as much less effective than their colleagues in private schools.
Superintendent Marty Pollio said today recovering from the learning loss is going to be a multi-year process.
Week in Louisville, the Jefferson County Board of Education voted 4-3 to reopen schools after almost a year of being closed due to coronavirus restrictions. Almost everyone had an opinion about what this year has meant for our schools, our teachers, and for our students. The problem is that we've seldom heard from our students themselves, from our young people, the ones that matter most. And today we hope to change that by welcoming students into the principal's office. So today, let's welcome to the show our wonderful guest. Trinity, why don't we start with you and go around?
My name is Trinity Durham. I go to DuPont Manual High School. I'm in the 9th grade and I lived in the West End.
Okay, excellent.
My name is Jason Pollard. I go to Western High School. I'm in 10th grade and I live in Shively.
Okay.
My name is Nyla Adonis. I'm in 6th grade and I live in the West End.
And what school?
Barrett Traditional Middle School.
Excellent.
My name is Elijah Sims. I attend DuPont Manual High School. I'm in the 11th grade and I live in Iroquois area.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so we want to back up just for a minute to March the 16th. It was a Monday, and the Friday before we had found out that we would not be in school. And we didn't know when we'd go back. But what were your initial thoughts? What do you remember when you first found out we were going to be out of school? Jason, why don't we start with you?
Well, March 16th last year, whenever we got out of school, I was super happy. I was just ready to spend my break alone playing video games and just messing around with my friends since, you know, we were in school and we didn't have to do anything for the beginning of the day. So.
At that time, were you worried at all about the virus itself?
No, I was not worried.
Okay.
I was more concerned about myself and playing video games.
Nala, what about you?
I was kind of upset because I don't know, but I like school. So, because we get to learn new things and have friends and whatever. So I was kind of disappointed when I first heard that school will be out.
Okay. Trinity?
I was very excited because I was not feeling school at the time. So I was ready to just sleep my days away. But that obviously was not the case.
No, not exactly. And Elijah?
At first, I just didn't see a problem with it. And it was just I would get an extra long spring break to me. And that's just how I took it. I didn't think it was going to be as serious as it turned out to be.
Well, when did it get serious for you? Did you at any point last year feel like, oh, this is a big deal? Or was it not serious until you found out you weren't going back this school year?
After I found out we weren't going back previous school year, at the end of that year, I was like, oh, this might be a big deal. And then as we continued to find out more and more about it, it was just yeah, it's going to be a while.
Any of the other ones, how did you feel, or when did it become serious to you? When did it become oh man, I may really miss the school year? When was that for you?
For me, when it actually became serious is when they actually started talking about coronavirus and, you know, all that on the news when I first started. That's when it kind of started escalating and getting very serious for me.
Okay.
I think it was for me when the cases started getting higher and higher, and then it was like, oh, a lot of people are getting this and it's getting real serious, and that people are actually dying from this, so, yeah.
Okay. And have any of you all experienced loss in your own families as a result?
Yes, ma'am. I have one that just passed away about a week ago. It's a cousin on my stepdad's side.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Have any of you all had family members that have gotten sick behind coronavirus?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody's been affected in some way. Okay, and so outside of school, what other things in your life have changed? Maybe things that you normally would have consistently been a part of or done. Anybody?
Our church, we couldn't go into the sanctuary anymore, but we started going into the parking lot instead, and then they stopped doing that as well. So.
Okay. Anybody else?
Usually, my school, it would have like a Hilltopper Award, and I didn't get to attend it personally, so they just did it on a virtual meet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so even the extracurricular type activities. Okay, okay. And so, what was school like last year, and I'm talking about from March until the end of the year, as compared to this year from fall until now? So can you tell a difference in what school's like? Is there a difference? Nyla?
School last year, it was kind of hands-on activities and actually in person. And now, like, it's just virtual and not really getting the full learning experience that we should be getting.
Is there a difference between what school was like last year when we went to virtual and what virtual looks like this school year?
Last year, school was fun. But now it's like dead because it's like it's just virtual.
Last year when they first went into virtual, it was more like it was complicated and unorganized. This year it's a little bit more organized, but like it's kind of more stressful because it's like they're giving us work, but like it's just, you know, we don't get the full teaching of it, and you know, just to see it in person.
Elijah, I saw you shaking your head.
Yes, I agree with what he was saying. When it first began last year, we just more like rushed, and they didn't take their time with it, and we was missing a few classes. Every teacher didn't provide a class. It was more like just work that we have been doing for like months, just continuing on in the unit that should have been over with. And like this year, it's just more how school actually was, but virtual.
Okay, Trinity?
I would say that I kind of disagree with them. Last year it was a lot more easy for me to navigate everything than it is this year, because I feel like I have more classes than I did last year, and the classes were also easier. So,
did you make that transition from 8th grade to 9th grade?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
part of it? Okay, so just moving from middle school to high school brought a lot more work with it, you think? Okay, okay. And so were your friends' experiences the same as you talk to your friends and people you're close with? Do they pretty much agree with what you're saying, or have they had pretty different experiences?
That's for me, my experience, it was kind of like, because school at the time when we're in person, it was a lot going on. And also, yeah, I think virtual is more organized and stuff. But my friends, they thought school was very organized and virtual has just gotten harder and harder.
So one of the things that was, you know, a big headline, I don't know if you all even heard it, but I'm sure you may have been a part of conversations. Back in December, they did a report and they found that most of the kids in Jefferson County had failed a class. Kids who had never failed before. It was a huge increase. Something like 125% more in high school and over 300% more in middle school actually failed a class or got a D. So do you know people? Is that a part of your story, if you can tell? Or what do you think led to that?
A recent article in Newsweek cited that black colleges produce 70% of all black dentists and doctors, 50% of black engineers and public school teachers, and while HBCUs only account for 3% of the nation's colleges, they account for about 20% of the degrees awarded to African Americans. Did you know that 40% of the African American members of Congress, 50% of African American lawyers, and 80% of African American judges all graduated from an HBCU? Simmons College of Kentucky is just one of America's historically black colleges and universities that can help you pursue and realize your dreams. Simmons College of Kentucky, creating the next generation of thinkers.
For me, at the beginning of this school year, I was motivated to do work, and then slowly but gradually, as we continued in the year, I lost all of that motivation, and I just feel like the work, or how they were giving us the work, I couldn't do it, so I fell off the wagon and just couldn't get back on.
I think for me it was just like procrastinating. Like, you know, I think I could do this like the last second, since it has like a due date on it, and it's like, oh, I have my computer right in front of me, but then it's just like everything around me at my house just distracts me from doing what I probably need to do. So
I didn't really have like a real problem. I didn't fail a class, but I did see a report. And I do know friends and people that have, but like there are a lot of distractions. But like I do procrastinate, but I do try to get it done just before the time it is supposed to be due to keep my grades up, getting ready for college and going to it.
Right. Okay, so show of hands, how many of you have a set aside, set apart office space at your house where you do your work? And how many of you, it's pretty much anywhere you want or you can find a quiet space? Okay, so about half and half. That's the same thing for me. Don't feel bad about that. So there's been a lot of conversation as well over this year about everybody's mental health and self-care and well-being. And so I've watched reports on NBC that talked about, you know, how children's mental health is suffering, and that's part of one of the reasons why they took the vote to return to school, because they said that, you know, so many students were in a bad place. And so in our community we don't have a lot of conversations about that, but I'm curious about your own emotional well-being. You know, do you feel like, how would you describe it? Has it been like a roller coaster for you over this past year? Have you pretty much remained steady, like, you know, railroad tracks, or, you know, do you feel like you've had some deep dives of just feeling sad or withdrawn or not wanting to really even participate as much? How would you describe this past year for you and your mental state and well-being? Trinity, why don't you jump in?
My mental health has not always been where it should be. As a teenager, when I was in middle school, it wasn't all the way up there, and then once we transitioned and the pandemic happened, it deteriorated. That's not a word I should say, but it went down a lot. So I feel like if I were to go back to school, it would come up a little bit.
Okay. Jason?
For me, I think my mental health has been fine, because like I'm just so used to like just going home and just doing me and living how I live. I don't think there's anything specific that really like caused me to go down in mental health or like, you know, give me a boost or anything. So I've been fine.
Okay.
I've been alright, you know. Other than school and other things going on, I've been alright. But since I'm only like 11 years old, I'm a kid, and I can't really, you know, do like what, I'm not all the way free. So, you know, I have to, you know, both redirecting and, you know, just dealing with what a kid has to deal with.
Okay.
And yeah, but it's been pretty fine.
Okay. So no major. What about you, Elijah?
My mental health remained pretty steady and same because I'm still able to connect with the friends that I mainly talk to daily, weekly basis. So it wasn't really a big change for me, just not seeing them in person. But it was like still over phone and text and all the other stuff. So it was fine for me.
Is that what most of you found, that you were still able to connect with your friends, you know, even the ones you were in schools with, or do you feel like there was a separation?
The majority, the main people that I talk to, I still talk to, but some of those school-only friends I don't talk to anymore.
I can agree with that statement because, like, my main friends, I still talk to completely. The more school friends, only talk to them, like, if I have classes with them and stuff, like, every now and then, but it's not as much as some of my other ones.
Do you feel like you've had on class virtually an opportunity to talk, or is that kind of discouraged by your teacher when you're online not to kind of talk back and forth, or have they made a way for you to actually talk to your school friends?
Yeah. Usually, I mean, I can say, like, the new friends I've made this year, due to my new school, yeah, I talk to them pretty current. It's pretty current streak. Okay. And my main friends, too. So.
Okay. Anybody else?
We don't have a chance to talk at all. It's more like a lecture, and then they just give us work and like a lesson. Yeah, we don't talk at all.
So do you expect that, you know, we've got some pretty good schools. All of you all are attending great schools, but do you think that's the case with most schools, that, you know, you don't get a chance to talk mainly to your friends online, or do you think that it varies by teacher to teacher?
I feel like it varies by teacher because some of my teachers allow us to stay after and talk a little bit, and then some others don't allow any type of interaction with each other. So.
So, oh, okay.
Yeah, I answer that. I think it is by teacher, but also as well as by grade, because I think as the higher you get, it's more like a lecture, and that's how more the higher levels is going to be. I think as you go down, it does depend on the teacher.
So this next one is kind of personal, but as you look back over this year and thinking about the things that you were able to accomplish, and it doesn't have to be school related, but maybe something you were able to accomplish personally because you were out of school that maybe you wouldn't have had a chance to do otherwise. Is there anything that comes to your mind, anything that you can look back and, you know, you're proud that you were able to do this in spite of the pandemic?
I would like to say something about that. I just turned 16 in January, so I was actually able to get a job, which I like the hours I work, I wouldn't have been able to do it during school, which I'm glad for. School was out. And also starting a business myself, trying to start one for now. School not being in really allows me to, you know, actually work around that and see how much time I have with that before school starts back up again.
So is it that you are able to adjust your hours in terms of getting your coursework done? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So you have some say as to when you complete assignments, when you actually have to be on live, and that's allowed you a little bit more freedom?
Yeah, that definitely
So that's
does.
been a good thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did you learn about yourself this year?
I learned that I'm very lazy because I sleep all the time, and because of that, I've missed some of my classes, so I should probably stop doing that.
And that's normal. You do know that when you grow, especially in your high school years, you require more sleep than ever before. But it is good that you can recognize there's some times where you maybe haven't been as alert as you needed to be. All right, somebody else.
I get very distracted easily.
You get distracted easily?
Yes. And like, say if I'm like doing an assignment for my class, I just get distracted easily, even if that's social media or gaming or Roblox, I get distracted.
So have you learned about yourself as a learner during this time? Do you know now that the best way for me to complete work and assignments is to go straight, to turn off everything, to be away from everybody and to concentrate? Or have you seen that you've been able to, I don't want to say multitask, but do a couple different things at your own speed and get it done? What kind of learner are you, Elijah?
I can do it both ways. I prefer the way I like to watch something while I do my work. I complete it in time. It just might take me a few minutes longer than it would if I just turn everything off, because of course it's going to be quicker. You focused on one thing, but I feel like it makes it better. Like, I don't mind doing work if I'm doing something else that I want to do. So that's a big deal to me.
I can't multitask because like I said, I'll get distracted. I'll just forget about my work. So I think I have to turn everything off in order to get my work done, because it's the only way.
Okay. Jason?
Me, it's actually like a certain work order that helps me do work better, which is like mostly the big assignments to the smaller assignments, because the bigger assignments take more time, and like as I feel like they're smaller assignments at the end, I feel like more motivated to actually do those since it'll take less time.
That's some smart way of thinking. So put the hard things and the bigger things first, and then as the easier things come, you can just go ahead and finish. I need to make that note to myself. Elijah, what were you going to say?
I was to add on to that. I'm kind of the complete opposite of that. I do my smaller assignments first, because once I finish the smaller assignments, the bigger ones feel like I have to get them done.
So coming into the last few minutes, let's talk about where we go from here. So as I said at the start of the show, Jefferson County has voted to go back to school and on a hybrid model for high schools and middle schools, which you all are a part of. That means that you guys will be going back 2 days a week, either Monday and Tuesdays or Thursdays and Fridays, from then until the end of the school year. And that means you'll be going to school by the normal way, whether you were riding a bus or a car rider or a walker, and stay there all day. You'll have some movement between classes, but they'll be pretty much limited in terms of getting up and walking around. It won't be necessarily like what you remember with school before. So as you've heard this news, as you've discussed it with your family, I want each one of you to share what's your decision. Are you going back this school year, or are you and your family choosing to stay out until next school year? What did you decide, Trinity?
I haven't made a set decision yet because I'm kind of split between the two options. So I think I'm going to go back, but I don't really know yet.
Okay. Jason, what about you?
I believe it's like a split for me too, school, because it's just I can't really flex my schedule around that, like going to school actually, than virtual learning.
So for you, it's an issue of being able to still work your job and also go to school at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nala, what about you?
Yeah, kind of split between the two, because when you're in person, you don't really get a lot of freedom to do things that you would normally do since you're virtual.
Okay, so what I heard from two of you is grades will probably do better, but I'm going to miss doing kind of my own thing and what I want to do. That's interesting. Okay, so Elijah, you've heard those. So we've got 3 split decisions. Where are you?
Well, me and my family have already made a decision for me and my sister. We won't be going back because, one, the virus still seems that it is out here and everything, but also I've kind of more thrived in the online aspect. My GPA went up 0.5 for last semester, and it's up 0.2 for this semester.
And show of hands, how many of you think that your social life has suffered? Okay, one person. How many of you think your academic life has suffered? Time today's show airs, students all over the United States will be returning to their schools to save what's left of this 2021 school year. Students will be tested and tests will be analyzed to affirm what we already know, which is that our students have not been learning new curriculum over the last year.
It's going to take summer programming, after school, community support, multiple years to make up for lost learning. And we're going to do that in JCPS.
We don't know yet how much students have been affected by the other pandemic. exposed racism. How has their mental health been impacted, and how are schools preparing to deal with that?
Well, I really hope that our district is preparing our teachers for that. One of the concerns that I have is, with this 1 year break, we can't assume the same currency. And by that, I mean, we cannot assume that just walking in the classroom as an authority figure today with 30 kids, that they recognize you, or that there's that sort of personal connection there, but that this is really going to be a significant period of starting over.
I guess I'm curious as to what is in place now in our schools that will support our students when they come back. Okay, so as we talked about the things that you're expecting when you go back, what are the hopes that you have? If you win and if you do go back, Elijah, maybe for your senior year and everybody else, what are you hoping will be different? Or are you just wanting more of what it used to be like when you go back?
I kind of want it to be what it used to be, but I can't really say what it would be at my school because I've never been to my school because I am a freshman. But I would hope that it would be more like a regular high school and not all of these restrictions.
I would hope if I went back that it would kind of just be, a little bit safer of an environment to be around in. But other than that, I think it should go back to how it was.
I hope for it to be the same. I know it is going to be different in a few aspects, especially with the social and everything. Might not be able to move around as we used to. But I do hope for it to be similar at least. I will be going back at the beginning of next year.
All right, so last question, you guys. You've done such a great job today. What are your aspirations or plans for the future? What do you hope to do as you mature, as you grow older and decide to enter the work world? What are your plans? What do you want to do? Elijah?
Well, for me, my next step is going to be applying and going to college and scholarships. Toward college, I'm looking at a few different options at the moment. But that's my next step for my journey.
Okay, and what do you hope to do with that?
For the college aspect?
What do you want to be when you graduate?
Well, I haven't fully picked my major out, but one school that I am looking at, Florida A&M, and if I go there, it'll be for agriculture.
Okay. All right, Nala?
I'm still in 6th grade, but my future plans, it's like going to college. I really want to go to Tennessee State. First, it's a HBCU, and I also want to major in geology because that's really cool.
Okay.
And I like science. So.
Geology, wow, okay. And what about you, Jason?
I actually don't plan to go to college because college sounds like a lot of debt to me. So I kind of want to actually start my own business. So I want to have multiple streams of income when I grow up. So.
Oh my goodness, you sound just like someone I know who lives in my house who is also a male and says that same conversation. All right, what about you, Trinity?
I want to continue to strengthen my writing skills because I want to become an author.
Excellent. Well, you guys who are watching, I hope you know that we are in great hands because we have had 4 wonderful students share with us today their experiences around this pandemic. As we started the show by sharing with you that we have to know what our children feel and how they think about situations, and there's no better place to get that information from our students and our children themselves. We love them. We want to encourage them to use their voice, and today they definitely did. So to Elijah, Nala, Jason, and Trinity, thank you all so much for being a part of today's show. And to you all out there, thank you for paying attention, for staying focused, for listening to their wonderful statements and comments as we went along. And join me here each week, same time, same place. And as always, thank you, and to God be the glory.